The galaxy thought it had seen everything. Empires rising and falling, fleets clashing in wars that spanned light years, weapons that could level worlds in a single strike. And yet, when humans arrived, it discovered that nothing it had witnessed could prepare it for what was coming. They called them the regulars. To the humans, they were soldiers trained, tempered, and honed beyond reckoning. To the galaxy, they were a storm yet to arrive, a force of nature cloaked in unassuming armor and quiet efficiency, moving where others feared to tread. Their insertion points were never obvious. They slipped through asteroid fields like shadows, threaded the gaps between gravitational anomalies, and bypassed orbital defenses with a patience that rivaled eternity itself. Every mission, every maneuver, was executed with a precision born of both intelligence and instinct. Where alien commanders saw obstacles, the regulars saw opportunities. Where entire fleets hesitated, they acted. And when they struck, they did so with a clarity and ruthlessness that left survivors questioning whether the humans were flesh, machine, or something far older than the stars themselves. They did not need overwhelming firepower to assert dominance. One squad, equipped with tools and technology indistinguishable from legend, could infiltrate an entire citadel, dismantle defensive networks, and emerge without leaving more than a whisper of evidence. Their minds were networks of coordination, anticipating enemy actions several steps ahead, reading patterns in chaos, exploiting weaknesses invisible to others. And yet, despite their efficiency, there was artistry in their execution, a rhythm that balanced aggression and caution, fearlessness and restraint, a testament to the depth of human ingenuity. Alien intelligence attempted to adapt, deploying fleets, AI drones, and automated sentinels. Each time, the regulars turned these measures against their masters, manipulating sensors, redirecting fire, collapsing tunnels, and disrupting communications in ways that seemed impossible. Ships meant to corner them became pathways for ambush. Weapons intended to destroy them malfunctioned under calculated interference. Every move, every choice, was an exhibition of human understanding, a demonstration that intellect and anticipation could overpower numbers, technology, and the arrogance of empires. Yet amidst the chaos and destruction, there were moments of reflection. A human observed the stars while perched on a ridge overlooking a battlefield, considering the lives affected, the civilizations preserved, the moral weight of each strike. Decisions were measured not merely by immediate tactical gain, but by foresight, conscience, and the long-term impact on the galaxy. Courage was more than firepower, it was judgment. Foresight, and the steadfast belief that the right action, executed with precision, could alter the tide of destiny. As alien forces crumbled under tactics they could not predict, whispers spread across fleets. Legends of the regulars grew, tales of units that moved like ghosts, struck like lightning, and vanished without trace. Entire worlds began to tremble, knowing that when the humans arrived, the outcome was never in question. It was not the technology, nor the weapons, nor even the numbers. It was the understanding, the coordination, the will to act decisively and without hesitation. It was humanity itself. When the final outpost fell, silence stretched across the void. Stars reflected on scarred hulls. Smoke drifted across orbital cities, and the regulars held their formation with quiet authority. They had transformed fear into respect, chaos into order, and the whispers of legend into undeniable reality. And so, the galaxy learned that human regulars were not just special forces, they were inevitability made flesh, and the universe realized that even the quietest human heartbeat could echo louder than the roar of a dying star. The regulars moved through the void with the certainty of predators who had studied the patterns of their prey for generations. Their ships, small and deceptively unassuming, slipped through patrols, asteroid fields, and planetary defense grids as if space itself bent to accommodate them. Every maneuver was calculated to the millisecond, every system, navigation, propulsion, shields, and communications, operated in perfect harmony. Alien commanders watched in disbelief as entire patrol flotillas failed to intercept what should have been a straightforward approach. Missiles detonated harmlessly in drifting debris, energy beams passed through decoys or misfired entirely, and AI-controlled drones were dismantled or redirected as if guided by the hands of a master strategist. Inside the ships, the regulars were a single organism. Pilots adjusted trajectories with near-prescient anticipation, weaving through gravitational anomalies and cosmic storms with a grace that belied the danger surrounding them. Engineers crawled through maintenance hatches and crawlspaces, repairing breaches and rerouting power with nerves of steel and the precision of centuries of training compressed into every motion. Tactical officers projected sprawling holographic maps, charting enemy positions, potential hazards, and the flow of battle across 3 dimensions, calculating moves and countermoves in real time. Every decision amplified the ship's effectiveness, turning a single squad into a force capable of toppling fortified positions that entire fleets had failed to breach. The regulars did not rely solely on firepower. They used strategy, anticipation, and psychology as weapons, exploiting hesitation, fear, and overconfidence in alien forces. Where an enemy expected brute force, they found subtle manipulation. Supply lines were disrupted without detection, command structures were destabilized through electronic interference, and patrol patterns were turned into traps. Every obstacle became an opportunity, every misstep a lesson, and every mission a demonstration that human ingenuity could bend circumstances to its will. Yet even amid this relentless efficiency, moments of reflection persisted. One soldier observed the stars from a vantage point on a ruined orbital platform, considering the lives saved, the civilizations protected, the consequences of each calculated strike. Courage was measured not by aggression alone but by foresight, restraint, and the unwavering commitment to act decisively when hesitation could mean catastrophe. Each member of the squad carried not only weapons but a moral compass, a conscience, and the knowledge that their actions would echo across countless worlds. As alien fleets began to falter, uncertainty replaced confidence, hesitation spread like a contagion, and command chains dissolved. Ships collided, automated defenses malfunctioned, and every lapse was exploited with surgical precision. The regulars struck in perfect synchronization, their attacks weaving through the battlefield like a dark ribbon of inevitability, converting chaos into dominance, indecision into opportunity, and hopelessness into triumph. Intelligence, coordination, and human resolve proved more devastating than overwhelming numbers or advanced technology. By the time the smoke of battle settled, entire enemy positions lay dismantled, their fleets scattered, and the galaxy's understanding of human capability had shifted irrevocably. The regulars, silent and composed, held formation amidst the wreckage, engines humming softly, shields flickering gently against residual energy discharges. They had demonstrated that even a small contingent, when guided by intelligence, unity, and unyielding will, could reshape the destiny of worlds. And across the stars, one message echoed: to face a human regular was not merely to face soldiers, it was to face inevitability itself. The regulars advanced deeper into contested space, a web of precision and anticipation moving through the darkness like a single, living entity. Their ships, sleek and deceptively minimal, twisted through asteroid belts, radiation fields, and drifting debris with an elegance that confounded enemy sensors and AI-driven targeting systems. Missiles fired in synchronized salvos were intercepted or rerouted before leaving their launchers, energy beams curved into nothingness against carefully timed countermeasures, and automated drone swarms were rendered useless, dismantled or trapped before reaching proximity. Every maneuver was not just avoidance, it was domination, turning obstacles into tools and hazards into weapons. The void itself seemed to bend to the strategy and will of the humans. Inside the ships, the crew operated as extensions of each other, their coordination honed to perfection through countless drills, simulations, and real-world missions. Pilots anticipated the movements of adversaries with near prescience, weaving through gravitational eddies and cosmic storms with a fluidity that defied physics. Engineers crawled along hull conduits and maintenance hatches, rerouting power, repairing breaches, and reinforcing shields with deft hands, sparks illuminating the intensity of their resolve. Tactical officers maintained a constantly shifting holographic panorama of the battlefield, integrating every variable, enemy positions, environmental anomalies, communication signals, projected movements, into a strategy that spanned entire star systems. The regulars were not a squadron, they were a phenomenon. Their minds and technology merged in symphony, their operations extended beyond brute force. They manipulated perception, exploiting overconfidence, hesitation, and fear. Entire defensive grids were rendered useless by subtle interference, patrol patterns became traps, and supply lines vanished without trace. Even the most advanced AI adversaries were forced to adapt, to react, and ultimately to fail. Where alien commanders had relied on overwhelming numbers and technological superiority, the regulars relied on timing, insight, and human ingenuity. One move, executed perfectly, could destabilize a sector; another, almost imperceptible, could determine the survival of entire colonies. Every mission was a lesson, every strike a demonstration of strategy and intellect as lethal as any weapon. Even in the midst of relentless efficiency, the humans found moments to reflect. Soldiers gazed at the stars between operations, considering the consequences of their actions on civilizations, the ethical weight of their choices, and the legacy they carried across the galaxy. Courage was measured not only by aggression but by foresight, restraint, and moral clarity. Each action reinforced the unity and cohesion of the team, binding them not only to their mission but to the principles that made them human: intelligence, creativity, and an unyielding will to protect what mattered most. Alien formations began to crumble. Hesitation and panic rippled through their ranks, command chains faltered, and once disciplined ships collided or drifted aimlessly. Every lapse was exploited with devastating precision. The regulars struck like a storm, converging and diverging, adapting to threats, and overwhelming resistance without a single wasted movement. What had seemed impossible, small squads prevailing against fleets and fortified positions, was now inevitable. Intelligence, anticipation, and human resolve outmatched technology. Numbers and arrogance at every turn. By the end of the engagement, enemy installations lay in ruin, fleets scattered, and the galaxy had been irrevocably reminded that human regulars were not merely combatants, they were the embodiment of inevitability. Silent, composed, and unwavering, the squadron glided through the aftermath of the battle, engines humming softly, shields flickering gently against residual energy fields. They had not just survived, they had transformed chaos into order, fear into respect, and myth into undeniable reality. And across the void, the message was clear: where human regulars tread, the galaxy does not resist, it obeys the certainty of their will. The regulars pressed further into the heart of the contested galaxy, moving with the precision and inevitability of a force that had studied every shadow, every pattern, every weakness of their adversaries. Their ships, though smaller than the massive battlecruisers arrayed against them, moved as extensions of a singular mind, threading through asteroid fields, radiation storms, and fragments of destroyed satellites as if space itself conspired to make their passage seamless. Missiles that should have obliterated them were redirected, phased out, or rendered useless. Energy beams bent harmlessly against their carefully modulated shields, automated fleets of drones scattered, lost in mazes they could not comprehend. Every hazard, every obstacle, every defensive measure was anticipated and exploited, a testament not only to human technology but to human foresight, intelligence, and unbreakable will. Inside each vessel, the crew functioned as a single organism, minds synchronized with instinct and discipline. Pilots threaded the ship through complex trajectories, turning gravitational anomalies into weapons and cosmic storms into cover. Engineers crawled along the hull in cramped maintenance corridors, sparks illuminating their faces as they rerouted power, repaired critical systems, and reinforced failing shields with hands guided by experience and unwavering resolve. Tactical officers projected elaborate three-dimensional maps across the bridge, tracking enemy movements, environmental hazards, and the shifting flow of battle, recalculating strategy in real time, often several moves ahead of their opponents. The regulars were not simply soldiers, they were an embodiment of human ingenuity and adaptability, a living demonstration that coordination, intelligence, and foresight could outperform overwhelming numbers and superior technology. Their tactics went beyond conventional warfare. The regulars manipulated fear, hesitation, and perception as deliberately as any weapon. Entire patrol grids were bypassed or dismantled without trace, supply lines vanished under surgical strikes, communication networks were corrupted, creating confusion and collapse within enemy command structures. Even advanced alien AI was forced to react defensively, miscalculating, overcompensating, and ultimately faltering. Where alien fleets had relied on technological dominance, brute force, and intimidation, the regulars relied on patience, anticipation, and strategic brilliance. A single maneuver could destabilize a sector, a subtle alteration in trajectory could determine the survival of entire populations. Every action was deliberate, every engagement a carefully orchestrated testament to human intelligence, yet amidst the unrelenting efficiency, moments of reflection persisted. Crew members paused briefly between operations, gazing at distant stars and considering the moral weight of their actions. The lives preserved, and the civilizations protected. Courage was measured not solely by aggression, but by foresight, ethical judgment, and the ability to act decisively when hesitation could spell catastrophe. Each decision reinforced unity, trust, and the intangible bonds that made them not just soldiers, but human. They were aware of the responsibility carried in every maneuver, the ripple effects of their choices across star systems, and the legacy of humanity that they embodied. As alien forces began to unravel, hesitation and panic spread like wildfire. Ships collided or misfired, command structures collapsed, and fleets that had once exuded confidence now drifted aimlessly under the weight of fear. Every misstep was exploited with surgical precision. The regulars moved with elegance and certainty, striking with force only where necessary, manipulating chaos into advantage and inevitability. Intelligence, anticipation, and human resolve proved more powerful than superior numbers, advanced technology, or arrogance at every turn. By the conclusion of the engagement, entire enemy positions lay dismantled, fleets scattered, and the galaxy's perception of human capability had shifted irreversibly. The regulars, composed and resolute, maintained formation amidst the debris and wreckage, engines humming with quiet authority, shields flickering softly against residual energy discharges. They had not merely won, they had redefined the limits of strategy, intelligence, and human audacity, and as silence fell across the star-strewn battlefield, one undeniable truth resonated across the galaxy. Where human regulars act, resistance is futile, and inevitability is their ally. The regulars advanced into the deepest reaches of contested space, their presence transforming the battlefield into a canvas upon which human ingenuity painted inevitability. Every ship moved not as an individual vessel but as part of a living network, responding to threats, opportunities, and the subtle currents of battle with a synchronization that was almost supernatural. Asteroid belts became corridors of stealth. Radiation storms became shields, and the debris of destroyed satellites was weaponized to obscure their approach. Enemy fleets, confident in their technological superiority and numerical advantage, faltered against tactics they could not anticipate, systems they could not counter, and a precision they could not comprehend. Missiles detonated harmlessly in the void, drones were redirected or destroyed with surgical efficiency, and energy beams curved harmlessly away from their intended targets. Every hazard became a tool, every defensive measure was an invitation to be outmaneuvered. Within the warships, the crew operated as extensions of a single, disciplined mind. Pilots wove their vessels through gravitational eddies and cosmic turbulence with instinct and precision, exploiting anomalies that would have been fatal to lesser crews. Engineers crawled through maintenance conduits, rerouting energy, repairing hull breaches, and recalibrating shields under sparks and alarms, their hands guided by centuries of training compressed into instantaneous decision-making. Tactical officers maintained holographic battle maps that spanned entire star systems, integrating real-time data, predicting enemy maneuvers, and recalculating strategy with fluidity. The regulars were not just soldiers, they were a living network of intelligence, strategy, and adaptability, each member enhancing the capabilities of the others in ways that seemed almost telepathic. Their impact extended beyond direct confrontation. They exploited fear, hesitation, and overconfidence, turning enemy expectations into traps. Entire defense grids were neutralized without direct engagement, supply lines vanished, leaving fortified positions vulnerable, command networks collapsed under subtle interference that left the alien leaders bewildered and indecisive. Even the most advanced alien AI was forced into reactive maneuvers, miscalculating and faltering repeatedly. Where conventional warfare relied on brute force, the regulars relied on insight, anticipation, and relentless ingenuity. One calculated strike could destabilize an entire sector, a seemingly minor maneuver could preserve the lives of thousands. Every action was precise. Every operation a lesson in the supremacy of intellect over numbers, adaptability over arrogance. Even amidst the ceaseless efficiency and deadly precision, the humans found moments to reflect. Soldiers observed distant stars from observation decks and orbital platforms, contemplating the consequences of their actions, the lives saved, and the civilizations preserved. Courage was measured not only by aggression but by foresight, moral judgment, and the ability to act decisively when hesitation could spell disaster. Every decision reinforced trust, unity, and the intangible bond of shared purpose, a cohesion that amplified the effectiveness of the squad far beyond its numerical size. They were not just a combat unit, they were the embodiment of humanity's intelligence, resilience, and unwavering will. Alien forces, once confident,